in my honest opinion, for the best start when it comes to the Sorcerer, the half wood elf is my favorite. Some people may like taking the high half wood elf, the extra cantrip, but realistically speaking, when you look at all the different cantrips, there's not really much here that I would want. If you're going to go this route, probably want to take the Ray of Frost. It's going to at least give you something that can slow enemies down. Maybe, you know, bog them down a little bit so that they can't catch you. But I just like having the additional 1.5 movement, and as a little bonus, we actually get a small benefit to stealth, which is kind of cool. Quite like that. And this is just kind of how I'm going to be starting my sorceress. To continue on from that, then we're going to be taking for my cantrips the Firebolt. We're going to be taking Friends. This is going to give us some rerolls, or should I say advantage, so like an additional dice during dialogue. Minor Illusion for distracting enemies, and wherever it's gone, Mage Hand. Oops. And we're taking Mage Hand for some extra utility, so we can interact with things from a distance. Pretty cool. In the level 1 spells then, we're obviously going to be taking the bread and butter spell Magic Missile. There's quite a lot that you could pick from here for different reasons. We've taken Ice Knife for now, although you probably don't need this until you're level 2, when you can actually start using the meta magic stuff and twinning this. But it's just there because just so that I don't forget about it. You might get some distance out of things like shield. That'll make it so that if something attacks you, you can give yourself an extra 5 armor class as a reaction. Pretty good way to not be taking any damage, which is kind of nice. When it comes to subclasses then, let's talk about things that you can do with each of these, because I quite like all three. We're going with Draconic, so I think it's easier to nail down a style. So Wild Magic is probably the best if you want to be mixing the different types of spells that you want to do. And in my opinion, probably mixes well with the Warlock. So a lot of people call this the Sorlock, mostly because then you can get the Eldritch Blast, and at the second level of Warlock, you can have your Charisma modifier add to the damage of Eldritch Blast. This is important because usually when you go Wild Magic, it's difficult to have that happen. And so extenuating your damage is more difficult with the Wild Mage if you don't do that. The Wild Mage, however, is very fun. It's very chaotic, extremely lucky. And you are able to modify saves, which is probably one of the coolest things about this. So you can like improve attack rolls, like on your characters and stuff like this, at the expense of spell points, which is just really, really cool. So the Wild Mage is almost like the utilitarian control mage. Like you are the puppet master of the game. Quite cool. Draconic is good if you want to specialize in a specialist element, and probably works, or should I say comes out the best if you want to go pure sorcerer. I'm not saying that you can't multiclass this and you can't get great results by doing that. What I'm saying is, if you're going to go straight sorcerer, this is probably the best one. After that, then we have the Storm Sorcery. This is really good, but obviously has to specialize in lightning damage. This mixes exceptionally well with the Cleric. If you start, in fact, you would start out as the Cleric, take 2 levels in the Cleric. I think it's called the Tempest Order. That's going to give you heavy armor and all of the abilities that you'll need from the Cleric, including making it so that your lightning spells do max damage. So this is really good if you want to specialize in an element that is lightning and not one of the Draconic ones. Moving down to the Dragon Ancestor, then I'm going with Red Fire. Probably pretty obvious, but we're going to basically get a free AoE spell. This is our Burning Hands here, which means we have 3 level 1 spells at our disposal. If we need something at range, we've got Magic Missile. If we have multiple enemies close, we can Burning Hands them for more damage, which is pretty good, and can hit multiple enemies. This is pretty key when we have things like Minor Illusion, because if we can see enemies before they see us, we can whack an illusion out there, get them to gather up, go in, smash them with Burning Hands. Nice little strategy there. If we want to save some time, kill some enemies. Background-wise, you pretty much have the choice of whatever you want, but because the Sorcerer is because the Sorcerer is a charisma-based character, and this is the character that we are playing as, it makes sense this is going to be a character that is probably going to do a lot of the talking. Therefore, I highly recommend taking something that either gives you persuasion or deception, depending on how it is you want to get through your dialogue. There's also things like intimidation down here. I don't think I'm a big fan of things like sleight of hand. -1 stealth just seems crazy. But I'm going to go with So because I'm mostly going to be a good guy in this playthrough, we're going to go with persuasion. That way we can easily get people to come to our side. And because we have friends as a cantrip, we'll actually be able to trigger advantage in a lot of dialogue, which is basically going to make it so that we get 2 dice, picking the highest, therefore making getting through dialogue options way easy because we get nice big modifier plus the proficiency. So should overall make for a smooth time in conversations. Moving on to abilities, I would say, or should I say we would say, been discussing this with people on the channel, there are a few ways you can start this. First things first, there is a quest that can be done early on. I'm not going to name too many names, but if you follow the series or the playlist this video is going to be in, you'll find one of the quests that is going to give us +1 to one of these stats. Okay, it's also worth noting that very early on you can respec for 100 gold, which isn't even expensive, and so you can rejig this anytime you want. Realistically, the only thing you can't change about the stats of your character is the starting race, which I haven't really spoken about too much. We'll go to that in a minute. So therefore, in fact, we did speak about it. What am I talking about? I'll cut that bit out. So therefore, the starting stats here can be changed nice and easily. So there is an argument to be made early on in the game for having 14, 14, and then going with something more like this, so that you can have less negatives, but still have enough dexterity that you gain a bonus to your armor class, and enough health that you're kind of not struggling with anything. See what I mean? So we've got plenty of things that we could do. So realistically, you're getting more like pluses out of this, because every 2 points can give you a plus to your saves and stats. But I'm going to be stubborn, and I'm going to have a 17, because we're going to do that quest. That's going to go up to 18, which means that once we get to level 4 and get our first feat, this is going to be 20, which is capped out, which is pretty good. That's going to make hitting with our spells way easier. And then, once we reach level 6, because we're Dragonborn, we're going to add that charisma modifier to our spell damage of our fire spells, which are obviously going to turn into our main source of damage. With that being said as well, I decided that I kind of wanted to have 16 in dex. This is because I really want the additional initiative so we can go early, but also because we are taking the Draconic Bloodline, we're going to start with 13 armor class, but we can't wear any armor. So any bonuses to that needs to come from dexterity. So we're going to get another 3 from there. That's going to give us 16. And because we have chosen the Wood Elf, Half Elf race, we're also going to be able to add 2 to that from the shields, giving us a total of 17. Fire. So realistically for me, the starting stats are going to be 16 dexterity, 14 constitution, 17 charisma, and these last 2 points go wherever you want. I'm told wisdom is more of a problem than intelligence, so we're going to bung those last 2 there.